Welcome to The Bench Has Spoken, a Survivor podcast from Bench Points Network. I'm Mary, and this is Becca. We are longtime friends, longer time Survivor fans. Each week, we watch the latest Survivor episode and provide a recap, commentary, and then predictions for the next episode. Becca, season 50 started with a bang. I don't want to skip to the future and talk about how it ended with a whimper just yet, but I'm so excited to talk to you about everything from start to finish and last night's finale. Let's get into it.
You don't want to pull a Jeff? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Bless
What
his heart.
happened?
Yeah, that's right. And then he tried to play it off like a big brother who didn't just like punch you in the gut while your parents were out of town. Maybe that was just my big brother. Yeah. So last night, there's lots of chatter online about it. Like it or not, everybody, the spoilers are out there, but it was not what I expected.
What do you mean not what you expected? Like the whole episode or the live portion?
All of it. None of it was what I expected. So I expected them to go back to the beach and for them to hash out the next two people who were going to leave. I didn't expect it to happen the way it did. And I also expected it to be very quick. So I expected us to go into the episode, one person get booted off pretty quickly. That did happen. But then I feel like there was like a upward climb and they were building anticipation and building momentum. And we got to the point where Jeff had his little snafu. And I think it took the wind out of everybody's sails. And from that point on, the rest of the episode, I was like, okay. I expected there to be lots more conversation about previous players. I expected there to be a lot more like dramatic, like farewells and thank you to the players and interaction and screen time for those people. And I expected them to be a little bit more in depth with each of the characters that were left. And I expected there to be at least something even mentioned about the 50 state idol hunt. Not even a whisper.
Yeah, it was such a bummer. Okay, this is the first live finale we've had in, 7 years or something?
It'll
Six
never
and a half
happen
years.
again.
And if you go back in the Wayback Machine, and I'm sure, like, Survivor popularity has been, up, spike, and then sort of, like, steady downcline. Is that
Like a
word? Down?
plateau.
Yeah, well, plateau and then and I feel like at the
Like a
peak and at its rising, these finales were, like, a big to-do. And then they kind of made them more abbreviated as time went on. But what we got last night was like, why are we even here? Why did we do this? Because, like you said, they had all the season 50 winners there, but did they talk to them? No. Did they really mention anything about them? No. I mean, even a montage about season 50 and like where Survivor started and everything. And I know they've done that throughout the season, but like this is the live finale. And then same thing for like the people who did not make the jury, just sat there awkwardly, like no interaction with them at all. Even the people that were there who made the jury, there was like minimal interaction with, I think, except for like, Sari and Ozzy.
Okay, can I say one thing about Ozzy real quick? I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. They gave him a freaking t-shirt. You gave him a t-shirt. You gave Therese this bronze statue made in the art department, and you gave Ozzy a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Was it really be a
I was
joke? I don't
really
think it was funny.
disappointed. No, I don't know what it was supposed to be, but I don't think it landed at all for anybody, to be
No.
honest. But it certainly felt more like a gut punch than a, like, joking around with my best friends sort of thing. It was a very bizarre choice. And I almost felt like Jeff must not like Ozzy because why would he do that?
Yeah, I would agree to do that. And I'm not saying they had to hand him a big fat check or anything, but even if he just like, even if it was like a hee hee ha ha moment, he could have been like, and we like whatever, made like a verbal comment instead of I think the t-shirt felt like an insult.
Yeah. It was
Right. It
weird.
was almost immediately after they gave us to read this like
Yeah.
and Aubry was embarrassed. Like it seems like he's actually embarrassed, like not
Yeah.
just about the show going home again.
Yeah. In his exit press, he talked about how that had literally been weighing on him for the last year. I mean, everybody knew it was not something that he was like over and laughing about. It just felt weird and mean. It's like giving Suri award is fantastic. Like, obviously, she deserves it. It did feel a little like middle school, it was a little bizarre to me, but whatever, it's a
Do you
community.
think they gave Sri an award because they felt like their hand was forced and the fans wanted her to stay so badly? They're like, we have to do something. So, art department, here's your little project. Make her a prize.
My theory on it is that somebody said, I wish we could give Suri a Spirit Award or something. We just love her so much. And Jeff was like, yes, this is exactly what the fans want. Let's give her a Spirit Award. And I kind of wonder if this Sia thing was maybe
So,
that came up
Sri can get some
after the Spirit
cash.
Award, but they had already like made it and everything. So like we have to give this to you. I wish they would have given it to her like at the same time as the money. That would have made it feel more cohesive to me. Because it was weird. I mean, it's weird to like pick one player to like honor in my mind, but then to do that and then the Ozzy t-shirt thing and then the Sia money, it just felt very like haphazardly put together to me. I don't know.
No, I agree with that. I I could I don't even know. But even if the Spirit Award was something that was given to her privately from like the Survivor production team, like
Yeah, like
after
maybe that's what the was supposed to happen, and Jeff got wind of it and was like, maybe he really likes that person who made it or whatever, or the team that came up, but then he's like, this is like my way of supporting them too or something. I don't know. That's all I can think because it was so
yeah,
weird. Not that I
and
don't want to have an award. I love her, but like,
yeah, I agree because I think I would have been like, I don't know, what do you spend? A few $100 on somebody's salary and a few $100 of materials. Why didn't you just give me $100,000 and $500? That could be my award. I don't
yeah.
want this like plaque. Maybe I'm just jaded by the entire night. And I feel so bad that I feel so strongly negative about this finale, but it felt like it was together by CBS. CBS is a huge conglomeration. I don't need to tell people that. They know that. Everybody knows that. But what do you mean the CBS put together or even put a stamp of approval or the people that work for them put together such a shitty situation? It felt like something that like it was like a college project.
Do you mean the award or the whole show?
The whole
Yeah.
finale felt like that.
I don't know, it just felt very bizarre. Like, it was almost like everybody that used to be involved with the finale and used to make it great moved on to a different show or a different whatever, and they had all new people that had never done it before. Because, like, when you look at the old ones, it always started with the live and Jeff having all the audience there and whatever, and you would have, like, check-ins in between different segments and stuff, and, like, they would show clips of or show scenes and then get reaction. It was like ooh, whatever. And that was fun. And it felt like this one, they made the episode itself way too long and then left very little room to actually interact with any of the people there to where it felt just really super awkward and you were just getting like 20 seconds here and there with people. It just felt stupid.
Yeah. No,
And we didn't
I
get any of the things that we wanted out of a live finale. Like they could have done what they did on the beach and given them pizza and champagne. That's not like what we got was not a live finale. It was just an opportunity for a bunch of people to get dressed up and sit in a room in uncomfortable stools.
yeah, which is like fine if that's what you want to do, but the way they hyped it up, that's not what we were sold. We were
Right.
sold like the old school, like to your point, the old school finale where they still like it wasn't a show, it was tribal. I mean, they were like dressed up and ready and like pleading their case and almost like begging at a live travel, and that's not at all
Yeah.
what happened. Should we go back and recap? So at the beginning of the episode, we had Aubrey, Tiffany, Joe, Jonathan, Rizzo were the top five. Rizzo had an idol, so we knew he was going to four.
Mhm.
And there was an individual immunity challenge, and the individual immunity challenge winner was first one, Jonathan.
Mhm.
So that um pretty simply solidified that Tiff was going home. She was pissed. She threw a fit.
Mhm.
Continued to throw a fit, was very vocal, and everybody was like, I don't know, girl, it is what it is. It was probably, I mean, we've seen pretty straightforward tribal councils before, but it was probably, I mean, the most straightforward tribal council we've seen.
It's funny, that was, like it was almost not with, like, the pre-tribal stuff, but just the matter or the obviousness and the matter of fact with which they were voting and everything. It was almost like when Bonnie went home and he was
Yeah.
begging Tiff in that situation. But I've so my thing with Tiff is, like, I don't wanna be attacking her or anything because I really like her. I was probably one of 5 people who was excited that she's gonna be on 50. And I would have been happy if she won, and I would have thought if she made it to the final 3 with certain combination of people, she should have won anyway. I did not her attitude this entire episode really was grinding me, and I get being mad about, being on the losing side of a vote and stuff like that, but, like, you're playing a game, and the people that get really heated when people vote out their friends or vote them out or whatever, it's like, you understand you're there to play a game. Respect the game. Respect the fact that, you know, so everybody's gotta get voted out at some point. It's just you this time, you know? So I didn't like that. And I also wondered, probably not, but could there have been any universe in which if she wasn't just like angry and hostile toward everybody, that she could have convinced somebody to like keep her and vote Aubrey out? I mean, apparently a lot of the jurors thought that Aubrey was playing a really good game. So maybe if she sat and thought about it for a minute, she could think of ways to convince people. And maybe that happened, we just didn't see it. I don't know. But it was weird. And it also made me think back to, like, Tiff's edit in general. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, "Why hasn't she been on more if she's made it to the
Especially
final?"
early on.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw a similar thing with Sophie S, but my theory now is, like, if all of her edits are just her mad about stuff, which, I mean, we were joking around about, like, just after the merge when her friends started getting voted out and she was, like, mad all the time, like, we were joking about it, but that just never really stopped. And there's one thing to be mad because you're, like, being lied to and bottom of the pack and everything, and you're, like, working your way up, but just to be mad in general about people playing a game and be mad the whole time, it was, like, too much for me.
I have a few comments, well, about Aubrey, but I'm going to save those, but specifically about Tiffany. Tiffany is a fantastic player, but she doesn't have any at all emotional intelligence. And I think that's where Suri wins. And I know she went further than Suri, but I think that she went further than Suri because everybody was like, we can agree we don't like her. And same thing with Joe. Everybody was like, we can agree we don't like Joe. And everybody, like, it was like the scuzz, I hate to say that, the scuzz floated to the top and never got filtered out. Because like, that's how I feel specifically about Tiffany and Joe. But I think if Tiffany could, like, cool her hot head and what did they say? "Don't hate the player, hate the game." Literally, girl, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's a game. You're playing a game. And sure, it feels more than that because you're emotionally and physically and mentally, like, very, very much invested, and there's $2 million on the line, and you spent time away from your family and you made a bunch of sacrifices to be there. All those things are very, very true, but it's a game. It's a game. It's a game.
Mhm. Yeah,
And you're playing the same game everybody else is. And nobody is like screaming at you because you played the game. You have to. You have to.
yeah,
And so I think if she could cool off her hot head and if she does come back, which kind of alluded to last night, she'll be back.
yeah, she'll definitely be back, and I'll root for her again. I just want her to take
I don't,
things less personally.
yeah, because you're playing, this isn't real life. It's not real life. It's just not. So it's
Yeah.
game. I'm sorry I called you scuzz, but I kind of mean it. It's like the stuff we get at the top of the water at the beach when you go down early in the morning. That's
Mm.
what I think about Joe and Tiffany this season, and I really do.
Well,
And
interestingly too, like, Joe also was mad a lot, and his anger was maybe even less warranted than Tiffany's, like, getting mad just about random weird things and fighting with Devins and stuff, like,
well, the first
to
time
be around that, you know? It's negativity, it feels like you're on eggshells.
it's true. The first time my chin hit the floor and flew down to the basement last night when I was watching the finale is when Joe was trying to like coach Tiffany and was like, you need to be more mature. And you can't just carry a grudge through the whole game. Joe, excuse me, Joe, whatever your last name is, excuse me. The way you looked at Rick, the way you talked about Rick, the way you were so disgusted by Rick the entire time. And then you're going to tell Tiffany not to do those things. And then he was saying, I played with honor and integrity the entire game until I couldn't or until I wouldn't. But this whole
Yeah.
time he's been mad at Rick because he thought Rick didn't have honor and integrity. Hush, hush, hush,
Ugh,
hush.
what a hypocrite.
what a scuzzbag. I'm not a Joe fan at
Mm-mm.
all in any form or any fashion. Do I think he's probably like a caretaking guy? Maybe, but I think he's a turd. I don't.
Yeah. His only like the entire season, the only thing that he did that I felt was like redeeming in any single way was him helping Rizzo make fire. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah,
But
that was
literally everything else like was even and this is dumb, but even when he like got so emotional, was so happy that Aubrey was taking him to the final three, like, do you know what that means, dude? Like, that is not a compliment. She's not doing you solid. And he was so excited and overwhelmed with joy that he was crying, and I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
you. Congratulations. What did they? You know that TikTok trend that says, "Congratulations, you are now one of my elite employees." That anyway, that's what that made me think of. Aubrey was like,
Yeah,
"Come over here and
and
be
that
the
was like you could ki I mean, I don't know if she was being genuine or not, but I felt like I could almost see her being like,
okay."
"Good for you, buddy. We're doing this."
Yeah, bless his heart. Um, I have another question for you before we move on.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the length of the episode?
Stupid, waste of time. It was 3 hours, and I made notes. 8 to 8:45 was the little bit of early beach time, the challenge, and tribal council voting out Tiff. 45 to 10:40 was the next like, the little bit of beach time, the challenge, a little bit of beach time for like, strategizing and tribal. That all could have been the same 45 minutes because it was similarly I mean, my like, they didn't even try to make it suspenseful because they showed them coming back from the challenge, and immediately Aubrey pulls Joe aside and says, "I'm taking you," and then goes over and tells the boys. So there was no she didn't give anybody the opportunity to, like, talk to her or anything, and she doesn't have to, that's fine, but just there was no reason to, like, stretch this all out, you know? Like, we didn't need more about the fire making and all that kinda stuff, and, the spoiler, aside, just felt like way too much time, and they could have used that extra time to give us a live reunion, more time with the prior winners, show cardboard Jeff Probst, like all these things that we wanted to see that we did not get.
Yeah. And Mary's cardboard Jeff Probst call out is something important and special, and we need to talk about it. For the Indiana, if Survivor 50 finale is not going to call out the state winners, we're going to. So the Indiana state winner for the idol hunt is a girl, and I don't know her name. Mary, what's her name?
I'm looking. I'm looking right.
Well, while Mary looks at her name, I'll tell you. She has a cardboard life size cardboard cut out of Jeff Probst, and she takes it around to different Survivor events that she goes to, and has past Survivor players sign the back of it, which is so fun. So
Mm.
this cardboard cutout of Jeff Probst has been all over the country. And last night for the finale, she had a cardboard tuxedo made for
Ah,
cardboard Jeff Probst, and he wore it to the finale, which is
she
so
got
fun.
her I just saw that, I got to meet Boston Rob.
Oh, at the airport. So, that means cardboard Jeff Probst got to meet Boston Rob at the airport. But, anyway, so go follow her on TikTok because she, documents cardboard Jeff Probst's adventures there,
Very
and
fun.
I think that's so fun. We met her in person, even though we can't remember your name.
Well, we remember Cardboard Jeff Probst, that's probably her legal name.
Yeah, that's right.
And if I remember correctly, I think her, like, dad comes with her to some of the events.
Something like that.
Wonder if he was her plus one. I mean,
Uh,
stuff like that, like, all the people that won, they could have had fun little stories, and we'll never know.
yeah. Well, even if maybe they said, even if they said, and special guests tonight are the 50 winners, and even if they gave them like something on their YouTube channel or
Yeah,
like
or put
something
them in
like
the same, like, little section in the audience and, like, have it be the idol winners or whatever.
they treated the 50 state winners like Billie Eilish treated Survivor. We don't care. They want a contest or something. I don't know.
They could have taken away the Ozzy T-shirt segment and given that to the Idol 50 or Idol Hunt winners.
Yeah, the t-shirt didn't land well. Thumbs down to the
No.
t. I
Mhm.
thought when they Colby at some point was passing out packages. Maybe they all got t-shirts.
Oh, I think I saw something that said they did, but I don't know who gave them to them or whatever, but
Did their t-shirts have Ozzy on them?
I think they were all the Ozzy Idol pocket thing.
I hate that. Mail 'em to right home. I hate that so much. Don't give me a $12 t-shirt
Mm.
while I watch someone win $2 million, a vehicle, something else, something else. They just kept adding shit. Very casually kept adding things.
And that's like all that stuff, it just felt so rushed and thrown together. And again, going back, like we could have had a 2-hour episode. It still would have been predictable and a little bit boring. I mean, there was exciting moments. Like I think, we kind of already talked about like it was basically like challenge, tribal. Then some people's family randomly came for like 5 seconds and there was no
Literally.
like depth to that at all. And then
Joe's tall ass wife.
right.
She's
And then
beautiful.
final tribal, and it just felt, I don't know, so much of it could have been condensed, I think, and then we could have had more interesting stuff. I'm gonna stop saying that because I feel like a broken record, but the one interesting thing I think was, well, I don't want to get ahead. We can talk about,
Go ahead.
I'm going straight to final tribal,
Do
so
it.
maybe we should. What was unexpected about the final tribal to me was that there was very little, I felt like tension or animosity or anything between the final three, besides Jonathan getting a little feisty. But that jury, the tension, you could just cut it with a knife.
Are you talking
It
about the
was,
sexual tension between Chrissy and Stephanie and Jonathan?
yes,
The
perfect
total
stuff.
package.
Fabio. Um,
Mm.
I don't know. I guess, do we want to go back and talk about the other stuff before we talk more about the final tribal?
I mean, I think we can bounce around. It's fine. But no, but I agree. The final trouble. But those girls knew what they were doing. You've played before. You don't just get up there and let them make their plea. You don't
Mhm.
make the plea for them.
I have so many thoughts and feelings on this thing. Like, I want the final tribal to be moderated, right? Like, Jeff is there and he's saying, like, you're
Oh,
next, you have a question, right? And so he's doing that to some extent. But it should not be up to the other jury members to be like, calling each other out or interjecting or whatever, because that sort of stuff, I feel like, A, it makes it obvious to us who everybody's planning to vote for, which takes away all of the excitement. Two, it, I think, just gives the three people that are answering questions more time to come up with answers and more fuel or whatever to like work with. And I don't like it. Like Jeff should have been there being like, no, stop. And like Dee had a great thing. I forget what she said, but she was basically, I think, saying like the jury should not be helping them answer questions and stuff like that. Jeff should have been the one stepping in to do that, I felt.
yeah.
And when Chrissy and Stephanie were doing their, "Oh my god, you're so wonderful, you're everything anybody ever wanted and more," it shouldn't have had to have been, was it Tiff who said, like, "Is there a question in here?"
Yeah.
It should have been Jeff being like, "We're doing questions right now. We're not doing praise right now."
Yeah, move on. Don't I agree. I think it was yucky. My favorite thing, I'm gonna keep harping on Joe, is when they were asking questions, they would be like, "This question's for Aubry. This question's for John. This question's for Aubry. This just," and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure, Joe, you can answer." Like nobody cared. Nobody cared what you have to say because you were never even on the table. You're a scapegoat, and I hate it. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry.
What did you think about, when Suri was telling him about, it was Suri, right, who said, like, uh, that they were all just kinda laughing at him and, like, didn't take him seriously and stuff. That was very
He handled it
awkward.
better than I expected him to. I expected him to shut down, but he handled that more maturely than he did the rest of the entire season.
Fair.
He took it to the side of the cheek and moved on. I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, okay."
He I think he did that a lot in the final tribal. Like, I was seeing him doing this a lot. Like, "Yes, you're right, thank you." Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Way to convince people. I thought it was interesting, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have one other thought about Joe is, you know how he's had beady eyes all season? And he's been like, I think he was either, well, I know he was malnourished or dehydrated because at the final tribal council, he looked handsome and he didn't have the beady eyes. So I think some of it had to probably
Oh,
do with the elements.
interesting. It could be.
Or maybe there was some camouflage or something going on there. Maybe
Yeah.
I had contacts. Who knows? Who knows? But there was the BDS were no longer there. I like that they gave Christian the opportunity to chat at the finale. I thought that
Love
was
a
sweet.
Christian moment. Yeah.
Are there any besides Chrissy and Stephanie? Are there any questions that you thought were not appropriate or necessary?
Gosh, not that I can remember.
Do you
I'm
remember in
having
old
trouble remembering
school?
individuals.
So do you remember in
What?
old school Survivor? No, even like in 49, when they asked Savannah, they were like, okay, you're trying to get all of our votes. Like, we want to know how well or how much you know or retain about us. So
Christina.
yeah. So tell us who all of our family members are. And she couldn't. And they used to do that all the time in Old School Survivor. Well, I guess these people know each other well enough to know those things. But I was waiting for one of those responses where it's like, okay, tell me one thing I did. Tell me one thing you noticed about me. To see what they say, kind of flip the script a little bit. It would be interesting to see what
Yeah.
their responses were. You had a good point earlier in the week when you thought, should the jury take into consideration previous play for these players? This is a really unique scenario because a lot of these people have watched each other play and they're friends outside of the game, friends, enemies, acquaintances, something. They know each other outside of the game. That had to have taken into account.
Mhm.
Like, there's biases that are just there no matter what, no matter if they're told only vote on this gameplay or whatever. You can't.
Yeah. I Yeah. I feel like there were gonna be people who were more likely to vote for the old school players anyway, just because they didn't want a new school player to win or new era, and vice versa. And yeah, to your point, like if people are close friends outside of this game or even have just like a cordial relationship, that probably factors into who they're going to vote for. And also, these people have watched like all the seasons of Survivor, so they've seen all the times people have played and how they've played. And I'm sure there were people that were like, Aubry should have won her original season. Like this is, her makeup win or something like that, or even the opposite of that, where people are like, I just actively don't like Joe, and I think he played like crap his first season, and I don't like him on this one, or I don't like Jonathan, and I don't like how he played his first season, and I don't like how he played this season, so I'm not gonna vote for him, like, to
Yeah.
give it to Aubrey by default.
Yeah. And do you have any
Do
more
you think
thoughts? Go ahead.
Yes. Do you think that any of the girls just voted for Aubrey because they wanted a girl to win? But it is what it is. Oh, I was gonna ask yeah. One thing when you asked me about questions and stuff, one thing I forgot was when they were talking about old era versus new era and, like, old era is loyalty to one group all the time and hustling at camp and stuff like that. And just in general, I'm so confused by that the logic of old era players were very loyal to one group forever and ever. Amen. And not to say that people weren't, but we saw that in new era too. Like look at Rizzo and Soph and
Yeah.
Savannah last season. So I found that very interesting. And that kind of ties into people sort of praised Aubrey for playing in the middle well. And I can't decide how I feel about that because we've seen so many times people vote people out for doing that. And I know that in a lot of those situations it's because they feel like they can't trust them and they're threatened and they don't know when they're going to flip or flop. But I feel like sometimes it's seen as like indecisiveness or inability to like gain power and stuff like that. And I'm curious because it doesn't feel like anyone but maybe some people who are salty to Aubrey anyway felt that way.
That's a good point. The old era, new era situation, somebody online was talking about, hey, let's talk about why there's so many new era players like left in the top, and even 25% um, after all of these old eras players were playing and being like, old era's the best, old era's the best. I think that there were some old era players, specifically Coach, specifically Colby, specifically a few that their bodies just couldn't handle it.
Mm.
Even Ozzy, I mean, he was like physically struggling. Um, in there. They just, and I'm not going to say these people weren't in shape because I think they are in shape. I think they're physically fit guys, but they're, they just couldn't keep up. Um, so if your value is in physical strength, and this is something that I didn't think about before season 50 started, is it is till it isn't. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think these people calculated in the fact that I'm not the strongest, fastest, bestest anymore. Like, I've got
Yeah.
to adjust my gameplay and be a little
Mhm.
bit more tactful than I was before, because before I could just use brute force strength to overcome the fact that I don't have any bedside manner. But
Yeah.
now,
That's a great point.
yeah, do
I
that.
think you're right because, if you look at the opposite of that, like Sari, someone who's never been good at challenges but does have the social and strategic game on lock, she's not gonna like age out of that.
No.
She could always have that ability. And she's always I hate to say this, she's always like a liability in the physical challenges when you're talking about like a tribe challenge. So that's not going to get any worse, you know? But I think, yeah, you're right. And I'll be probably a little bit controversial here. I think that so like Colby obviously came in as fit as he could be for a 50 something year old man. And I mean, he looked great. He's fit. He's probably more fit than a lot of people who were
Oh,
younger
he
than him.
looked great. I'm not
Uh,
denying the fact that he looked great.
but some of them didn't come in that way. Like, I wouldn't have classified Coach as someone who like really trained hard to come back. And even Ozzy, like, I don't know if he purposely put on weight to come back so that he would have more fat to burn or something. I don't know, but he definitely wasn't as like fit and trim as he used to be. And not shaming him or anything, but just like that's going to affect your ability to play these physical challenges. And I think a lot about like the challenge, like the MTV show, and as the style of that game has changed to be more like of a physical competition and less like socializing and drinking and playing like bar games, some of those older players have really like stepped up and like started training hard, and the ones that have lasted are the ones who've done that. So yeah, I do think Ozzy tried to do more strategic stuff and it just didn't work, unfortunately.
Right. Right. And I think I don't know. I'm glad they kind of landed where they did. One thing I want to talk about is Aubrey winning. People were saying since episode 3, like a very large population of people being like, Aubrey wins, Aubrey wins, Aubrey wins, Aubrey wins. Did it leak? If so, that's annoying. And I can't keep watching a show where before you even start the season, you know who the winner is. Because when people are saying, it's Aubrey, it's Aubrey, it's Aubrey, like unanimously, people are saying it's Aubrey. I'm like, it's not Aubrey. It's not Aubrey. There's no reason why it should be Aubrey. I stand by that. Like, I still at the end don't know how we got to the point where it's Aubrey, but like, I wish it wouldn't have been so obvious. Like, it was to the point where if you asked ChatGPT even a month ago who won Survivor, it said Aubrey. Survivor season 50 said
Yeah.
Aubrey. And Vegas odds have been 99% on Aubrey winning since mid April.
Yeah.
So, like, that it takes the fun out of, like,
Yeah.
watching and following along if there's no element of surprise, and Jeff Probst made it worse. I don't wanna keep talking about the mistake, I'm just making a joke there because
Yeah.
I know mistakes happen. I'm just shocked that it happened on such a large scale. Like, that kinda thing, I mean, you're not gonna see that on even, like, a freaking PBS show.
Yeah. I think that comes back to what I was saying earlier about like this is a crew potentially that hasn't done something like this. So maybe they're just don't have all the nuance stuff down. And what if my understanding of what I saw and read is correct, he wasn't like you know how it would go to the live and then we would see the episode, right? Like he
Yeah.
wasn't watching it. So he didn't necessarily know what had just aired. So he's basing it on like the stage director and the production crew and stuff to be like, "Now this is what you say," because he doesn't know. So, I think it's unfortunate, A, because it, like, ruined that moment, which whatever. I don't know that I really thought Rizzo had a chance at making fire. It would have been fun to watch it, but I hate that this is gonna make people who don't like Jeff Probst have, like, so much more, I don't know,
Disdain. And
reason to, like, hate on him because I don't think this was his fault at all, and I think that the way he handled it last night and the way that he handled it in press today was super, like, smooth and mature, and I like that he didn't throw anybody under the bus or come at it angrily. He's just, like, calm, happy Jeff about it.
yeah, I wonder if front facing Jeff and back of the house Jeff are the same.
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't know the answer to that. And I think he handled it very, very smooth and way better than I think I would have. Cause I think I would have like immediately cried or been like, I have to poop because I'm freaking out.
So funny.
It would have been one extreme or another. I do think he handled it well. I do think it's unexcusable at this level.
Yeah, I agree with that, and somebody's gotta look into why that happened and how it would never happen again and who's responsible and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I do wanna talk more about the odds thing and the spoilers
Oh,
real
yes,
quick.
please.
Okay, I still don't know how we ever found out that Savannah 149 before it started, like, I don't know what the initial leak was or, like, it's just, like, all of a sudden everybody just knew and knew that it was 100% factual, and then this time, the Aubry thing seemed less like, At first when it was happening, I was like, "Why would people think she would win?" Like, whatever. But as we got, like, even 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, "People are really stumped that this is how it's gonna play out." So to your like, I'm with you, like, it seemed kinda obvious that was gonna happen as much as we didn't want it to, and, like, we're trying to fight it. But is it just a coincidence that 2 times in a row it got leaked, or is this just how it is going forward? And I agree with you, like, it takes the fun away if you know, and I don't know what the solution would be because I feel like there's so many people that work on the show. There's all this social media and everything, like loose lips and everything else, and the fact that all these players are so they have a way to connect so quickly and immediately after the game, and consistently, and not even just, like, with each other, but, like, with production and, their social media platforms and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how we, like, stop it from happening outside of, like, a Big Brother style Survivor where it's just live, so you can't reveal the winner, you know?
Oh, Mary, how fun
But
would that be?
yeah, but, yeah, it's unfortunate. Do you think that it's possible that we would have another season when we don't know the winner?
No, no. But the reason being, just like we talked about, like if players are going to keep coming back, but you have to evolve. You have to evolve. And that's what Boston Rob, I think that's his secret sauce. And I think he's done it beautifully. Is he has played a different game every single time he goes in. He builds his game as he goes based on the players he's playing with. You can't play the same game every single time because a winning game in one season is a losing game in the next. Same thing. So the players have to evolve if they're going to keep coming back. The show, even the world is not the same 25
Yeah.
years ago when the show started as it is today. So it's not possible. I mean, well, I'm sure they're doing everything they can to keep things on lockdown, but like now information spreads so quickly.
Mhm.
And I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Do you see this? I know you watch some other, like, Amazing Race and stuff like that. Do you see this kind of leak happening there, or is it just
Um,
Survivor's on another level?
I'm not as, like, involved in socials and stuff with Amazing Race
Mhm.
as I am Survivor, obviously, because 'cause I'm way into the weeds with Survivor, but it happens with traders.
No?
Like, before the seasons ever start, people will say, "Oh, this, and this," and every time I think, "Surely not, surely not," and then even this season with Survivor, I thought, "Surely not. Aubrey's not done anything. Surely it's not Aubrey. Surely it's not Aubrey." I think Aubrey's likable. I think that she got her, like, really good, strong, sturdy base with Christian, Devins, Emily, and then by Cerie. Cerie was part of her base before they even walked onto the beach. And by proxy, I think that that spread a little bit to their close connections. I think that's how Aubrey won. I do think she was like least. I think the plan for her was for her to go as a scapegoat to one of the old era players.
Mm.
Same thing for Joe.
Like an
Same thing.
like, I mean, a Suri or something, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if
She
Suri and Rick.
like, the plan was for her to go as somebody's scapegoat, and all these goats got let loose up at the top, and we had to pick from there. Yeah,
I just okay, I felt, like, very blah about Aubrey in prior seasons, and I don't mean that as an insult, like, I just I didn't remember her necessarily, like, she didn't stand out to me as an exciting player or someone I liked or whatever, and this season, I would say, like, 75% of her edit was her being, like, super negative, talking shit about other players, being upset about the game, and, like, wanting to leave, like, early on, stuff like that, like, just nothing that made me wanna root for her, and so I don't and even, like, her interactions with other players and people not trusting her and calling her a snake and stuff, I didn't find that to be like, "Oh, I'm sympathetic for you, Aubrey, because I don't think you're that way." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." So I'm so confused by the edit, I think, because it didn't win anybody over, and, like, look at Savannah. I don't like Savannah either, but the edit, at least you could see why people would like her, because they make her look sympathetic in a lot of ways and like a strong woman and stuff like that. And Aubrey, I just felt like not she didn't get that at all. And so I'm very confused by that,
yeah,
like what that choice was. And it makes me feel like that's just her personality and they didn't have anything else to work with.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think she's been, like, overplayed to the max, and honestly, they didn't have any other options. Jonathan Joe didn't do anything, he just won the whole time, everybody knew he was going to the top because people wanted to step beside him. Fair. That's fair. Jonathan is a very strong player, and I think he's probably a nice guy, and he seems like a likable guy. All those things are true, but as far as actual gameplay, he was people were telling him what to do. Sometimes he was a bridge,
Mhm.
sure, but he
If
was
you had to go check with on everything.
carrying information back and forth. I do think he probably fit in well with the guys club, and I think
Mhm.
he like uh, sweet demeanor with the ladies, and he's obviously won over a couple of them. So I think he's I guess a more viable option, but I don't think anybody was like a super strategic or did a big twist or a
Uh,
big gameplay. Everybody who did those things kind of got caught in the mousetrap prior to the end, and we were stuck with duds.
I feel like Aubrey reminds me of any number of Disney characters who were like the sidekick to the villain and
Yeah,
maybe got like almost either got caught in the end or almost got caught and like maybe even eventually turned good, but you still kind of didn't like them because they were evil the first part. Um, and I feel like her I get it to some extent, like, she was able to ingratiate herself with or integrate herself with a lot of different people, but I also just consistently heard people say negative things about her, so I'm just so confused by this social thing. And Kelly Whitworth, I watched a video that she did where she talks I mean, she's friends with Aubrey, and she's really fan, she's really excited that she won, but she's like, "Obviously, she did the social game right because all these people wanted to vote for her, and she played a strong game with, like, balancing all these different alliances and having to, like, shift and all this kinda stuff, but I almost in my mind, it seems more like she just wasn't a threat, so nobody voted her out, even though they didn't like her, and that she just kinda happened to make it to the end where I feel like Jonathan, yes, he did have to go to Sarif with a lot, but he also did a lot of work and was able to win a lot of challenges and stuff like that and help his team win challenges, and I feel like that to me is like a more robust resume than what Aubrey did. I mean, the jury's gonna vote for who they're gonna vote for, and Kelly Wentworth made a good point. She's like, jury management is the biggest factor in this game. So if Aubrey went in, and especially if you're saying like she had a connection with Suri beforehand, which I did not know that, like that tells me everything I need to know. Because I am certain that there were many people on that jury who voted for somebody because Suri said this is who we should vote for.
Literally. Why are people doing that? It's like, well, maybe they're just like, I'm over it. It's not me, so it doesn't matter.
That's fair.
And they're just kind of relinquishing their power. I don't know. Yeah. I
Maybe I would do whatever Suri to do too.
One yeah, right. Everybody's under Cherie's spell.
Right.
One thing I want to keep in mind, I know I've talked kind of crap about the final five players. I am disappointed. Um, but we see what we see on TV. I'm sure there's way, 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 way more
Mhm.
to the
You
edits.
think there's gonna be anybody who pulls a Sage and starts just going to town on social media about stuff that happened?
Sage was off the rails, unhinged. She like nailed herself in the coffin. She'll never get invited back.
Mhm.
I don't even know if she wants to get invited back, but I mean, you can't be throwing shade unless you've got some pretty hefty receipts. Like after it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
Um, you know who I want to go back from that season?
What?
I'll give you one guess, and I know you know the answer.
I think I know the answer. Is it Nicole?
Okay, yes, and another one.
Because I was watching the live stream last night that you do, and I heard it.
Yeah, well, Nicole and Joanne. I just love Joanne. He's
Oh,
fun.
I love Jawan too.
He's a cutie.
I wish he would come back. I would have gladly had Jawan instead of Savannah or instead of Joe or instead of Aubrey or a number of other people.
Yeah. Season 50 was fun. I think it was a good, like us personally, or lots of opportunities here locally for a bunch of Survivor fans to get together.
Mhm.
So it was really fun to kind of build like a more like tangible group of friends that are interested in participating and watching Survivor and making it kind of a priority, which is fun. That's fun. We get comments all the time on our TikTok where people are saying, "Is this show on? Is this show on?" I think it's on and alive and vibrant. And maybe it's because I'm in a wind tunnel because
Yeah,
I produce Survivor content and I receive consume Survivor content. Um,
I'm
you looking
I'm
up
gonna look
stats?
at the Survivor 50 finale ratings.
This will be interesting. I should have looked this up before we got on the phone.
5.78 million people watched it, or live and same day, I guess, meaning on the streaming, which is a 32% increase from the previous season's finale and a 35% increase from last spring's finale, so season 48. That's pretty good.
7, 8 million?
Mhm.
See how many people watch the Super Bowl. That's a lot of people. Those elf cosmetic ads had to be pricey, baby.
Yeah,
For
that
five.
was so fun.
I love that they're using the players to do that. So that tells me that Tiff was in the ads, D was in the ads, Bree was in the ads.
3.
Anybody else? Just those three?
I don't remember. Those
Those
are the
ladies
3
probably got a hefty girl paycheck.
I hope.
Um, from being on that. And then Cherie casually got handed $100,000 and a plaque made out of plaster.
Maybe she can pawn that thing or sell it on eBay or something. Get some more money.
I ain't done it.
125.6 million people watch Super Bowl.
Okay, so that's a little bit bigger.
Um, I have 2 questions for you. I feel like we're kind of wrapping up, but I wanna make sure to ask them. Number 1, I have this here. Number 1, I think we all kinda know where we stand on all the celebrity-related things, so don't necessarily need to rehash that, but outside of those specific components, how did you feel about season 50? Did you find it to be more like old school Survivor, a combination of old and new, or or did you like it or feel like it could have been better? Not
Um,
including
um, I liked Survivor season 50. I'll go through the list of things that I liked. I liked the callback to the old challenges. I thought they were great.
Mhm,
I thought it was a really healthy mix of endurance challenges and puzzle challenges and physical challenges. I thought that was fantastic. I love that they brought back the jury and made, or not jury, excuse me, the auction and kind of gave that time to shine. That was
mhm,
really fun to watch. I liked that there was, especially the first episode. I thought the first episode was so fun because it was fun to get like kind of a callback and see how people had
mhm.
like grown. So they gave them a backstory that wasn't like
Software.
yeah. Which I feel like now it's like a bunch of like, oh, I'm weird and quirky, and I collect my pimples in a jar, and I fart a lot, and it's like that's your backstory. Like there's nothing else, but that's what they choose to put on. So and call back to Sage there. But I liked all of those things. I liked in the beginning there was like real, true, organic conflicts that I carried over from previous seasons. And they kind of leaned into that. I like that there was a mix of confident and kind of cocky people and that were there for like social stuff. And then I also like that there was a little bit more kind of like nerdy or like silent killer kind of groups. I liked that because it really caused like a clash of clans of sorts. Um, that was fun to watch and lean into. I thought it was really fun. I think that Jeff liked this group and you could tell he liked this group and they liked them. So that was kind of fun to watch their interaction. Overall, I think the season was super entertaining. I like, even though they didn't like give any a callback to that in the finale. I liked that they provided like social um experience interaction type
Mhm.
things for fans to do and get involved in outside of just please apply, please apply, please apply. I don't know. Overall, if I was given season 50 stars 1 to 10, I would give it 7. What are your thoughts?
Same. I feel like I probably voted for no idols. I have always voiced that I don't really like Exile Island type of stuff or, Redemption Island, all that kind of crap. I just like old school gameplay. And I felt like even though the Boomerang idols were sort of a failure, I felt like it was a balance, like, they probably had close votes on whether people wanted certain things, so they're like, "Well, instead of having, like, traditional things, maybe we could try something different." I think if it hadn't been labeled as a Billie Eilish idol and it was just a Boomerang idol, I would have been, like, more into it, but the fact that they had to hype it up like that, whatever. And I know I said we wouldn't talk about that, but I liked having people all the way back to season 1 and, it gave me the chills watching that first episode and seeing all the history and everything, and I loved, to your point, like, how they sort of played up some of the old, I don't know, like, what's it like, what word am I looking for? Rivalry type of thing, as well as, people who were, like, buddies working together. And we got to see like new friendships form and 100% agree with your point about like, so it was a really good mix of different types of people with like different types of gameplay and different like personality types and everything else. And that made for like a great opportunity for there to be multiple groups that you could really see working together long term. And the gigantic merge was kind of a lot, but in some ways I liked it because it felt like, at least at certain times when they weren't splitting people up into groups for non-individual immunity, it felt like there were opportunities for more of those personalities to work together. And it wasn't just like we came into the merge with 6 people in one alliance and 3 people who were out on the outs. It was like a whole bunch of people who had sort of chaotic relationships. I thought that was fun. So really my only negatives would be that I felt like some of the episodes were rushed because of having too many people, and therefore they even kind of got boring because you just didn't see a lot of like substance. It was just here's this, here's this, here's this. But I liked it overall. I would say I would do maybe like 7.5.
That's good. That was a good question because it's easy to be hypercritical, which it's just fun. And like, I like the show. I'm going to keep watching the show. Everything's good about the show, but it's fun to kind of reflect back and see like what we went through as a fan base this season. I
Right.
think it's really fun. Can I ask you a question now?
Yes.
Any thoughts on Mike White and his choices to include in his?
I felt like they must have been very specific to a character that he already had in mind versus like wanting to bring his friends in. And I can kind of respect that.
Yeah.
I like that, I think, unless he based it on just like what he saw. But my guess is like there was all this stuff about Charlie being so hung up on like this vengeance stuff about Rizzo that I almost could see him having been like, "That's interesting. I'm gonna write something like that in my show, and I want Charlie to come play it." Versus like Ozzy and I were buds, and I really liked him and wanted him to be on my show. I don't know what Camilla's like arc would be or draw other than maybe he just thought she's interesting or something like that. But
Yeah, I think she's a cutesy, and maybe I think she could play lots of different characters within that, show really well. I think it's kinda fun. I thought that was fun,
yeah.
but I didn't expect it to be those 2 individuals.
Yeah, that would've been I mean, that was like the last 2 that would have been on my list probably, except for like
Right.
maybe Chrissy and Aubry or something.
But he gained a viewer because I'm gonna watch because they're on there.
Have you watched any of the other seasons?
Nope. Nope, nope, nope. And do you
I
got
got one more
another
question
question?
for you.
Yeah, I have one for you too. You go
Okay.
first.
So this season and last season, more than ever before, I've seen so much hate towards Jeff and people are just demanding that he leave. And Hands of the Fans was not really Hands of the Fans. So I kind of can see why people are so upset. This is a two-parter. One, do you think that there's any chance that we are nearing the end of the Jeff era? And number two, will it be Rick Devens who takes over?
Okay. My answer to this is Jeff will be done when Jeff is done. And it doesn't matter what anybody internally at Survivor or externally as a fan base says or does. Jeff is going to make his own independent decision when he's going to leave. That's the viewpoint I have of
You
Jeff.
will pry Survivor out of his cold, dead hands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I think. Or he'll be like, one day he'll be like, you know what? Moving on. I'm done. It's whatever. Too much. So I don't think he's gonna leave based on anybody else's feedback. That's number one standpoint. I think he still does a great job. I think Jeff Probst is Survivor. There's not Survivor without Jeff, and there's not Jeff without Survivor. So this weekend, we were at a bar and we were watching an episode of Price is Right. And Drew Carey was hosting Price is Right. Was Price is Right still kind of fun to watch because it's like, oh, nostalgic games, nostalgic songs, nostalgic
Mhm.
reactions from fans. Like it's like a cutesy.
I mean, it's always gonna be fun to watch Plinko.
Right, right. Like a tourist trap kind of
Mhm.
thing now. That's the same kind of energy I think I'll feel about Survivor once Jeff does decide to leave. Do I think it will be Rick Devens? Devens. There's rumors of it. I think his personality is fantastic. I think he would do a wonderful job. If it's not going to be Becca Walker as the host of Survivor, I do hope it's Devens. I think he would be great. Do I think
Yeah,
it's going to be him? I don't know. Do I think Jeff's ready to go? I think he's still got a few seasons in him, but do I think Devins would be a wonderful replacement? Yeah.
yeah. My thing is, I agree with you. I think it's not nobody's gonna force him out or whatever. I think it's gonna be his choice, and I would hope that he makes the choice like, before it's too late, you know? And I'm not saying it's close to that or anything,
You're
just
done.
me,
Oh.
like, 75, trying to be out there on the beach, you know? And I think that there's a lot of people talking about different people who they think should be the host. Personally, I like Jeff's energy when he's out there, like, he's running up and down the course when people are doing obstacles. He's, like, hollering, like, crawling under to, like, see where people are, stuff like that, and that's, I think, what you need. You can't have somebody who is just gonna be standing off to the side. It has to be somebody who's, like, got the personality and the booming and
Animated.
everything else. So, I'm not saying that it couldn't be other people that have played Survivor, but I think Devin's having the TV experience and the TV voice. He's kind of the right age, obviously, like, kind of a Mr. Survivor type of person. I think he could do a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he would do a great job. What if Jeff never ever retires and it turns into where he gets driven all the way up to a handicap parking spot beside each of the challenges and he gets out with like a long stem microphone and uses his walker to get over to the challenge and says, "Okay."
And he would be my high school band director who drove the auditorium to the back of the parking lot because he couldn't walk back there.
Yeah. Okay, it's getting late and I have one more question for you.
Okay.
What did you think about the 51 Forever 51 preview?
Well, I said a little bit ago that I voted for no idols and no, like, Exile. I don't like Exile Island and all that kind of crap. So throwing everything they've got into one season feels chaotic, and my only hope is that there's no celebrities involved.
Yeah. Um, the players seemed very like kooky and energetic and goofy, almost like it was like we were watching people improv, people playing Survivor.
Mhm. Whereas I can't wait to watch the cast intro videos, to see how disappointed I'll be. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
it'll be interesting because I know once we get into it, that'll kind of shed a little bit, and they'll start showing their true colors, and we'll find players that we resonate with and we like and think are fun to watch. So, that'll be
Right.
fun. But at first reaction, I was like
Yeah.
a little cringe. But it is what it is. Hey, if you're listening, this is the second night in a row we've stayed up till past our bedtime, dedicated to Survivor.
Yes. Don't say we're not in it for the long haul.
Yep.
I'm excited for 51. I'm going to assume that it will play out well and not just be a shit show. Um, because at the end of the day, we are Survivor fans. We just have
Mhm.
some critiques occasionally.
Pure Survivor fans, no matter what. Old school, new school, give it to us. We'll watch it. We'll watch it. Okay. Well, it has been so fun doing this podcast for Survivor season 50. If you followed along with us, we appreciate you listening. If you don't yet, please follow us on our socials. We're way fun and funny over there. Speaking for ourselves, we're wonderful. So follow us on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, here on YouTube, and we'll continue to provide Survivor content even in between seasons, and maybe
Mhm.
even we'll dabble in a few additional
Yeah, you
shows.
may catch us live streaming some Big Brother.
Yeah, yeah, you may catch us live streaming some Big Brother, maybe some White Lotus. Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have some more content, reality TV content, Survivor specific content, you name it. So make sure to follow us on socials, and we really appreciate you watching. This has really been fun. So cheers to Survivor season 50.
Yay.
So
Me too.